I had a very strong feeling this would happen, and now we got to talk about it. I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, quite honestly, but WWE is making another change to SmackDown, and it's not one that I'm fond of. We're going to talk about that, plus Roman Reigns. We got some huge news surrounding Roman Reigns and his future. And yes, this man truly is going Hollywood, and we do got to talk about Rusev. If you guys want more videos like this, you know what to do. All right, y'all. I want to kick things off immediately with Rusev. Rusev back in the WWE, already killing it, doing some cool stuff. But it just seems like WWE needs to put this rocket on him, right? Like they got to do something with him, right? They got to put him in the World Heavyweight Championship picture, right? Well, WWE actually doesn't agree. In fact, WWE is planning a big feud for Rusev, but they're not rushing him to a World Championship feud that quickly. According to PW Insider, WWE is reportedly planning a full-blown program between Rusev and Sheamus for WWE Raw. This is obviously right after Rusev has left AEW to come back to WWE. Now he's officially back on Raw. WWE wants to put him in a big program, and the way to do that is with him and Sheamus. Now, there's actually been a lot of rumors that maybe WWE would have Rusev and Sheamus become a tag team very similar to Claudio Castagnoli and Sheamus back when they were the Bar. And I don't know if WWE is looking to do the same thing here, but obviously, if they have a series of matches and they continue to feud, who knows? Maybe it starts a tag team. I actually wouldn't be opposed to that. I do like the fact that WWE is bringing talent back to the company, like Aleister Black, like Rusev, but WWE is actually just kind of just letting them do their thing, right? Like they don't need to be feuding for the titles just yet. There's obviously a lot of stories going on, but what's important is not that they're it's not whether or not they're actually competing for world titles or not. What's important is that they're actually utilized and doing something meaningful. And I actually think it is much better in professional wrestling when there are plenty of stories, not necessarily for a title belt. Because I think for WWE and AEW and TNA, some of the best stories always required a title belt being on the line. And thankfully, professional wrestling in 2025 has really allowed it to be a situation where talent aren't necessarily having to be in those stories in order to be relevant. A perfect example of this is Chelsea Green. Before Chelsea Green was competing for the Women's US Championship, before that title even came out, she was constantly on TV, constantly doing stuff. And that feels good to me. I feel like that's a really big deal. Look at, Bailey and some of the women that you've seen on Raw. They're able to be on TV and in storylines without actually having to chase a belt. I think that's great. Until people are able to elevate to that next step, I think that's the right move. So I definitely appreciate that. That brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. Roman Reigns is slated for a really, really, really cool role. Roman Reigns is potentially going to be in the new Street Fighter live action movie. And according to Fightful Select, this is a pretty big deal, obviously, but they have reported that the WWE megastar is being eyed to play Akuma, who is a demonic powerhouse known for his terrifying strength, glowing red hair, and supernatural fighting style. Now, negotiations are currently underway and they are still in the early stages, but Roman Reigns is essentially being discussed for this role, and there's really no indication that it's not happening. Now, this is huge, right? Because Roman Reigns, we know he's not going to be wrestling forever. That's just the truth, right? Like, you guys might like it, you might dislike it, you might agree with it, you might not agree with it, but Roman Reigns has been very vocal. We got maybe two more WrestleManias with the guy. He's going to go into something less intensive, which obviously acting is a great thing for Roman. I think we saw this 10 years ago. I think we all knew that Roman Reigns would probably go Hollywood. And we saw him, on House and Hobbs and Shaw or whatever, but this is Roman Reigns getting a major role. And if Roman is good at acting, that's a huge win for WWE. The fact that WWE has had guys like John Cena and well, John Cena and The Rock are probably the more successful stories, obviously, but John Cena doing Ricky Stenicki and Peacemaker and all of these things. At the end of the day, people know John Cena because of WWE. People know Roman Reigns because of WWE. So I'm always infatuated with the idea of WWE stars, AEW stars doing Hollywood. I've actually never been opposed to it either. I think like you hear stories of MJF being in Happy Gilmore. I think that's just cool. It's nice to see people from the wrestling world being able to get opportunities outside of it. I'm never really offended when somebody leaves professional wrestling to go Hollywood. And I definitely won't be that way with Roman Reigns. I think what's actually more interesting about Roman Reigns in this specific situation is the fact that Street Fighter is so iconic and Akuma is so iconic. So the fact that Roman Reigns could be having such a massive role, really, I mean, Hobbs and Shaw was cool, but it wasn't like he played an integral part of that, right? So if Roman Reigns is playing an integral part of this and he's successful with it, I mean, it's going to change everything for him after WWE. And for some people leaving WWE, they go start an OnlyFans or they go start a podcast or whatever, you know, there's a lot of easy things Roman can do for money outside of this, but I think it is a little bit of a challenge to go Hollywood and to do that. So we'll see what happens. I definitely think this would be a movie I would watch, which is great considering that there's not that many great movies out there anymore. So yeah, what do you guys think? And that brings us to our final topic. If you guys were excited like me about SmackDown going back to 2 hours, well, newsflash, you're not going to like this because WWE is not advertising 2 hour SmackDowns. PW Insider had reported earlier this week that internal listings at USA Network currently schedule Friday Night SmackDown for 3 hour episodes at the beginning of June. Now, if everybody goes on their TV guide and checks for themselves, you'll actually also be able to see that. Now, keep in mind, WWE was said to not keep 3 hour SmackDowns for the long haul. And I remember talking about it when they announced it. I said, guys, don't be shocked if this doesn't revert back to 2 hours. Then, just like a month ago or so, there's been a whole bunch of mixed reportings about it. And still to this moment, we have not heard anything about them going back 2 hours. Now, WWE SmackDown being 3 hours is currently slated to keep going. Keep in mind, at the end of this month, it was originally said it was going to be back to 2. USA Network, WWE, no officials have come out and confirmed the change or not, but I think this is bad news. I definitely think it's bad news. Maybe this is not a popular opinion, and that's okay. But I think 3 hour SmackDowns, while there have been some good episodes for 3 hours, I think adding that additional hour has really hurt the product overall compared to what it was with 2 hours. However, on the flip side of that, you also have a show that is a bloated roster. So I would like WWE to figure out a way where they can use all the talent that they need to in the span of 2 hours. The fact that nobody's really publicly talking about it being 3 hours again basically tells me that it's probably not going back to 2 hours at all. And I just don't like that. I actually wouldn't mind a 3 hour SmackDown, by the way, if they moved it to Tuesday nights. And then maybe Tuesday NXT can compete head to head with AEW again. But I think Friday Night SmackDown being 3 hours is just kind of disastrous. Even right now, the ratings aren't looking as great as they were. And, maybe they're all happy with it, and that's cool. I'm not really concerned about that. But I'm just saying, I think SmackDown not being on a Friday night would probably improve its overall viewership. So, you guys let me know what you think down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.